Hey, hi everyone. Myself Agushi, and today I'm going to share the top React interview question and answer, which is I categorize in the from the fresher, seniors, tech lead, front end developer, and you're working with as a full stack developer or a front end developer as a fresher position, senior position, or tech lead position. So this is a question which you can see that will be appear for your upcoming interview, or you will face this type of questions. And it is like I categorize from the basic, then intermediate, then advanced level. So first I will start from the basic question, then as per the question goes, topic goes in the more modular way, more lead way. The question will be going as an intermediate, then it is going to the advanced level. And for for the question which is I'm going to cover here, not but theoretically, I will say I already use some practical code also to see like which is the thing, which is the theory we are explaining. We have to be write the code also. So on that level, that will be like very useful for like that will be giving like more chances, because the developer, we know the concept, but where we have to where we have to be apply an application, and where we have to utilize that feature. If we have a multiple option, which is the right option for that. So if we are doing the coding as a practical approach, right now you see, if you are appearing for the interview, there is a no need to go with the like theory answer. There are there are answer, we can say sometimes we need a theory, but if you are already using the practical approach, writing the code with the real time example where you are implemented in your project, that will be giving the best impression, I will say. So keeping in that mind, as a practical approach, I included the question and answer, and that will be helping you also for the understanding level, better understanding level. So let's start with that. First question in the React, we have to know like component, and the question they will ask like how to create the component in React. Because if you are like seriously you are working in any project, or have you worked on any project, you know what is the component. And if you know, then they have to be asked like how to create the component, and what will be your approach, what is the syntax you are following. So component is a basic building block of the React, and because of that component, reusability is a like more advantages. So there is a two category we can say in the component. First, functional component. Second is a class component. In the functional component, what we doing? It is the simplest way to create the component, and it is uses the pure JavaScript function that accept the props and return a React element. You see, this is the code snippet we have. Function welcome, passing the props message and returning that hello, and what is the props we are pass over there. Coming to the class component, in the other hand, it uses the ES6 class to define a component, and the same function component can be rewritten as the following class component you see. So after this, they will also ask like then what is the main difference between the function component, class component. We have a various type of like differentiation. Sometimes component level one of the C like writing approach will be a different, and apart from that, in the React function component we are using the hooks, and in the class component we have a life cycle method, which is we use as a complex level. And function component where we like utilizing more of the services, stateless function which we are creating with the help of function component. If you need some small to mid level of things, you just go with the function component. Otherwise, mid and complex level of application or component UI side, you can go with the class component. Then next question, what are the props in React? Because in the previous question you see we are passing in the welcome method message. So on that point, when you are declaring and explaining this code, this type of code, on that point the interviewer will be asked like what is the message, what is the name we are calling the message. So you can say it is a props type. These props can be accessed via the child component props property. You see we have a function component, function welcome, passing as a props, and returning hello, this props dot name. And in the class component, you see we are extending the React component and entering this hello, this dot props name. So this props can be accessed via the child component props property. Third, what are the state in React? State means like we are creating a component. In the component we have an object, and object of the behavior we are explaining with the help of state. And it will be like better answer, I will say. It is an object that contains the information local to the component that may change over the lifetime of the component. In the code, you see we have a constructor. In the class component, we have a constructor passing props, super props, state, this the state, and in the state we are message having a welcome to React. So when we are rendering in the return statement, this dot state message, that will be display the message what we are written in the state function or state message. Next question we have what is the context? What is the context in React? So context is like data sharing mechanism. We already sharing the data from the props parent to child. But what happened? They are telling we are already doing as a developer, as a interviewer side. They will ask we are already sharing the data from the props. Then why the context is coming? When you are telling the same thing like we are sharing the data. So we have to be just fine line different between them. Context is a data sharing mechanism in React. You might like I will say it is an alternative way to pass the data to the component tree without passing the props manually at every level. We don't need to pass the props because in the props what we have to do, we have to pass personally like manually at every level. Then it will be able to share the data or access the data in the child level. But context is designed in such manner to share the data that is considered a global with the tree of components. Like we have a component A, B, C, D like that. So passing data from component A to D using props should require data to be processed from A, B, C, then finally D. Context provide a way to share the value like this between A, B, C, D component to avoid the scenario like we don't have to pass each and every state. That will be taking a time, and if any of in that state will be like having issues, then it will be not get executed from destination to destination, I will say. So a common use case of that context is like application theming language and user information which are accessed from the various part of the application. So this is the example. You see we are having a use context. We have a context for the current user. So constant use use user context and just behaving that, extending the React component, rendering and returning that statement. Toolbar. The toolbar is nothing but we have another component JSX form. So in the function toolbar, we having greeting component. In the class component, you having toolbar component, and in class greeting extend, we are returning that what is the context we are passing from this one. Class component level to function component level. So user are provided to pass the data current user to the tree value, and any component can read it no matter how deep it is. In this example, you see user context dot provider value equal to Mike, and in that we are passing the toolbar. So here you see in the class greeting extend React component, static context is equal to user context what we already created at the top level, and returning that context here in the rendering method. Next we have a live question, how do you conditionally render the component? So conditional rendering is a component. It is like common requirement in most of the application. Like for example, a component might need to be rendered only if a certain set of data is available in your application state. So you have to be written that time. Otherwise, you don't have to be you don't have to be render the component. So JSX, I will say, doesn't render the false or underline. So the behavior, let us use conditional short circuit to render parts of the component using the and notations. So in the code you see functions welcome props rendering returning in our like props dot name. This is like conditional reading. We are checking if props name is not null, then we have to be props dot name, otherwise name not available. So a ternary operator can also be used to create if and else condition. Using this example, you see one of the example here mentioned. Similarly, as per your requirement, if you want to render some component, you can apply. Then next question we have how to bind a method or event handler in JX callback. So handling event are a common requirement when building application, and this event could be a DOM event like such as a click or mouse click event that component emit. So React provides us three approaches to listen the emitted value. First we have like callback with arrow function, which we have a total three, but most frequently what I used, that is I'm like trying to covering here. First I already use the callback with arrow function. Second, bind in constructor. So in the callback with arrow function, bind the event to arrow function that call the desired function. Like on click, on that we are having this dot handle click, which is I already declare in the handle click method. In the binding constructor, like event handler define a class method in React aren't bounded by default, but we could manually bind them in a constructor to allow them to be called from the template. So constructor props super constructor, which is props, and on that we are just writing our handle click event, and button on click we are called. And third, I not mention here, but that is also we use public class field syntax, and on that what happen, we can avoid the manual binding of the method, defining this method using like arrow functions, and arrow function don't have their own this keyword. So when we are writing like some, just see in this example, like for the handle click arrow functions, and when we are rendering and returning button on click, so that time we can mention like this dot handle click, and when we are mentioning this dot handle click, this that will be coming as a public class field syntax, and that will be called when we click on that button. Next we have what is a synthetic event in React. So synthetic event provide a convenient abstraction over browser event. Like this abstraction streamline the interaction with the browser event from our React application. And in the simple word, I will say synthetic event is a cross-browser wrapper around the browser native events, and it has the same API as is a browser native counterpart, like including method like stop propagation and prevent default. However, it's like unlike the browser native event, and synthetic event work identically across all browsers. The main aim to about this synthetic event to like grab all the browser wrapper into one to check about the status or tracking the status of every component or every browser level. Next question we have a how to conditionally apply the class attribute. So similarly, like we are hiding and displaying an element, sometimes we also need to conditionally apply styling to our element, and this typically style are applied by like classes instead of directly setting it down on the element. So we are doing normally like in the element itself styling property applying, and if I want some proper class level, then how we can apply. So that will be like React. You see, like including conditions such as like and notation and ternary operator to conditionally display part of your component, and the same concept I will say applied in the class name also. The div you see in the example, we have a div class name button panel and plus this dot prop if it is a disable, if it is a not disable, we have to be disable, otherwise default value we are assigning. When disable props is true, and by the way, otherwise default class if it is a false. Next we have a what are the reference in React. So sometime like accessing the DOM directly is required the understanding of the recommend approach, like accessing the DOM could save you from unexpected behavior in your application. So reference provide a way to access the DOM node or React element created in the render method. And I will say it is like act as a escape hash to the regular React data flow of passing the props down to a component tree. So they are used to update the child component without passing in the new props. You in the example you see it is the input, we have input element, and when button is clicked, that should be called, that should be getting the reference from that method. This dot focus text input, and the use cases of this reference include like managing the focus and text selection. Second I will say triggering the imperative animation, and third I will say integrating with the third party DOM library. Next question we have what are the four stages of the React component goes through. Otherwise they will also say like what is the life cycle of the React component in which is in the class component, not in the function component. If they are telling what is the life cycle of the React component, you don't have to give the like this is the four phases. We have to be give the properly. We have a two component, function component, class component. In the class component we have a life cycle, and on that there is a more phase. There is a four stages or four important stages we have to be passed. So that will be that answer. Initialization, mounting, updating, unmounting. In the initialization, the component is constructed with the given props and default state. Mounting, rendering the JSF returned by the render method. Third, I will say updating, when the state of component is updated and the application is repented. And fourth is like unmounting, and in the final stage of the component lifecycle, where the component is removed from the DOM. Like कोई भी आता है ऑब्जेक्ट इनिशियलाइजेशन होता है, so we have to be destroy that object, clear out that object also. So on that level this unmounting phases is coming. Next we have a what are the stateless component. Stateless component, the simple word I will say function component. Or if you have some better information or idea, please comment it down. I will be happy to learn and take the info from you, your side also. So the stateless component are nothing more than pure function, and that render the DOM based solely on the property provided to them. Like in the constant stateless component you see props, and we are returning that our div class name, the component name, class name what we are having, and in the props what we are taking name and birthday. So react.render in that same stateless component name, art and birthday what we are mentioned, and that will be we are like propagating here. So in this component no need for any internal state, let alone a constructor or lifecycle handle this, and this component output is purely function of the property provided to it. Next question nothing we have, but that is till now we cover the basic to intermediate type of some question. Now I have properly intermediate type of question. And if you want to the same thing, please comment it down. I will share this resource to you all, and that will be you can take as your notes, or for the upcoming interviews you can prepare and crack it. Then I will just taking the snapshot for the intermediate question. In the question they have like, what are the pure components, what is the difference between the state and replace state method, and these are the some question which is like important. I also have a more on that, but if you want to more on this answer or more such type of questions, then please comment it down, like, share, subscribe this channel, and want the same resources from my side, so please ping me, and I will share on your email id properly. Till now, till then, happy coding, keep healthy, stay healthy. Meet you in the next video. Bye.